Hey guys, welcome to today's video. Today we are going to show you 10 of our best vegan recipes. All appeared on Bosch and they all came in the year 2020.
This is kind of like our annual roundup.
Absolutely, and 2020 was a mad year. It was a very non-usual year where weird stuff happened.
Yeah, weird stuff did happen. Some not so good stuff happened, but you know what? Some great stuff happened on this channel.
Exactly, we made a load of tasty recipes. We've got our 10 top recipes for you here. Hope you enjoy it. Let's get into the video.
And number 1 of 10 is goulash and dumplings. Oh my God.
Do you remember this went absolutely wild on our channels? I think from that shot where those dumplings like expand, it just had people clicking and now loads of people have been cooking it. They love this recipe.
Yeah, dumplings is a difficult one with vegan food, but we kind of just disproved that completely by providing a fantastic dumpling recipe that we're seeing how to make now.
Yeah, it's super simple and I feel like it's just a bit different. It's an unusual thing. Like everyone knows how to make your red pasta, or you know, they've got their go-to toasted sandwich, which incidentally, I had a toasted vegan cheese and pickle sandwich not long ago.
Oh, delicious.
Just now. It was really tasty. But everyone's got their go-to recipes, but dumplings, I feel like not that many people would cook that on a regular basis.
Exactly, and also that recipe for dumplings, you can use it with the goulash that we're showing you how to cook now, but you can also have it with a really nice stew.
Absolutely, and the cool thing is, as you're gonna see, they're gonna cook in the stew. So, you know, rather than cooking them separately and then dropping them through the stew, this is a speedy recipe. In fact, it's from our book, Speedy Bosh. So they literally cook in the sauce as it cooks.
Now this goulash is so flavorful. That tomato sauce that we just made there, because we cooked it down for a little bit and got some nice spices in there, just gonna be really deep, really rich, and really, really fantastic. The sort of stuff that's gonna go perfectly well with what's in the pan right now.
Have you ever noticed how basically every single recipe pretty much starts with onions?
There are a lot of them.
Why is that? Can you tell me?
Because I suppose onion is just like a really nice base flavour.
Right? But it also kind of softens and it gives you that kind of thickness in a sauce. Gives you a nice bite, doesn't it?
It does, and also I suppose it's kind of got lots of moisture locked into it. So when you like pop it on some heat with some oil, it sort of gives you a nice kind of saucy base.
A saucy base.
A saucy base.
Speaking of a saucy base, this recipe absolutely has a saucy base. You know, we've got those wonderful tomatoes in there. We've got some protein in the form of the cannellini beans. Got those lovely dumplings, which don't they look cool? And of course some peppers as well.
Yeah, exactly, all of that good stuff. Now that simmer time, look at that. It's just that bicarbonate of soda or baking soda that's in the dumplings has been activated. It just swelled up so nicely. Oh, I think they're fantastic, those.
Absolutely, and you know, this is relatively quick to put together. It's a Speedy Bosh recipe, after all. So you should be able to get this on the table in about 20, 25, maybe 30 minutes.
And remarkably healthy. I mean, there's nothing but veggies in that stew. It's just perfect. And we've popped that dairy-free yogurt on there just to sort of give it a nice kind of silky mouthfeel, just to sort of offset some of the denseness of those veggies that are in there. But honestly, I love this.
A proper delicious recipe from the book Speedy Bosh, but we've just shown you how to do it. You can also find the recipe in the comments or on our website.
Yeah, it's a really good one. You should definitely give it a whirl. And if you're into vegan meat alternatives, this is a good one.
So this one went absolutely wild on our channels last year and it is honestly incredible. The King Oyster Ribs Cage.
Oh yeah, now this is one of our favourite ingredients by far. It's the king oyster mushroom. They're quite expensive, but when you get your hands on them, they are so good because they're just so meaty. They've got such a fantastic texture. And if you cut them like we're doing here, you're gonna make ribs.
That's fast cutting.
That was
I mean, that's the fastest cutting I've ever seen. It's like Speedy Gonzalez going for it.
Oh yeah. What's that on the right hand side?
I mean, right, if you're wondering guys why there's a Bosch packet in the picture, that's because that is our own spice mix.
Yeah, we've been lucky enough this year to put some products in supermarkets and spice rubs which we use to flavour vegetables like jackfruit and like mushrooms are now in that sort of line of products. Really cool.
But don't worry if you haven't got that, maybe you're in another country or you just didn't fancy buying it, you can just use any kind of like barbecue spice mix that you might have lying around or Google for a recipe and make your own.
Now look at those ribs, they're coming along really nicely. And the reason why we're using that potato masher here is to eke out even more moisture from the ribs. So what you're left with is something that is really remarkably meaty, aren't they?
Incredible, yeah. And this was first introduced to us by a guy called Derek Sarno. I feel like if you're talking about oyster mushrooms, it's a law that you have to mention Derek Sarno.
It's absolutely true.
So, and he showed us how to make ribs like this for the first time. And that man works wonders with mushrooms.
He really, really does. And this barbecue sauce is also going to work wonders with mushrooms because it's going to give it that nice, smoky, sticky sweetness that you just want with a rib.
And what we would recommend if you are using tinfoil to cook it like this is to try and find food safe, like try and find the high grade kitchen stuff. Or of course, if you're not into that, you could just pop it in the baking tray and pop a lid on.
Now all of those mushrooms that we chopped up earlier on, chopped up like Speedy Gonzales, all the
so
end
fast.
bits, like, well, here they are.
Ah, so this is the caps coming back.
That's it, the caps and the little shredded bits. And what you need to do here, if you're making this, is cook those down for ages because there's loads of moisture trapped in there and they just need to eke out all the moisture. And the more moisture that leaves the mushrooms, the meatier they become.
It's actually really difficult to overcook mushrooms.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because of the chitin. It's like the kind of tough fibrous substance that they're made of. It's just really difficult to overcook it.
That makes
sense. It doesn't really burn. You know how other things would like just really soften and disintegrate. Mushrooms can take the heat.
Jeez, yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually. Yeah, that's really a good little piece of pub quiz knowledge.
Well, there's a lot more facts like that we've got about mushrooms, but there's not mushroom left in the video to put them.
Slide that one in there like that. That was good. And here it is, that wonderful mashed potato. Honestly, you need to try this. It's such a really cool way of making mashed potato. But what we wanted to do was make a full cage of ribs, and that's exactly what we did.
Incredible. Next up is our ultimate vegan mac and cheese. This is such a delicious recipe. You've got those crispy breadcrumbs on top. You've got that gorgeous bechamel, incredible cheesy flavors. Of course it's vegan. And most importantly, it's really fast because this is from our Speedy cookbook, Speedy Bosh.
Now this is our roundup for 2020 and Speedy Bosh was the book that we released in 2020 and I think it's worth saying it did quite well.
Grab yourself a copy of Speedy Bosh. I know we put out a few recipes like this on bosh.tv, but it really is such an incredible book. It's got 5 stars. We would love you to grab a copy, so go check it out on bosh.tv.
Yeah, there's some great recipes and this is easily one of the best ones. And that sauce right there is so creamy and it's going to become so cheesy when we get that vegan cheese in. Oh, yes.
One thing we must say, if you are using a blender in this recipe and any other recipes, make sure you always follow the manufacturer's instructions with regards to hot liquids. Some blenders can handle them, some blenders can't. So make sure you're careful. Yeah, definitely be careful. It's a great piece of advice. And there it is, look, we've got that really nice, warm cashew liquid that's mixing in with that roux, and now we're left with what is turning into a cheese sauce that it will shake you to your song. The cool thing about this as well is, you know, we save time by instead of boiling the cashews in water, we actually boiled them in that milk so they'd soften and then we could use the milk. It was actually just all in one go. There's a big lump of vegan cheese and some nutritional yeast. Now, vegan cheese used to not be very good. Now it's pretty darn good. So get yourself down to the supermarket, try a few different variations of vegan cheese and use the one that you like the most. You know what? If you're into cheesy flavors, nooch. Oh yes. We need to talk for a minute about nooch. It's one of my favorite things. It's easily one of my favorite things too because of the B12 content and the cheesy flavor. So nooch is actually nutritional yeast. That's what we're talking about if you don't know already. You can buy it from stores, you can buy it from health food shops, and it's these little flakes that add a wonderful nutty flavor. Yeah, and listen, if you're gonna make mac and cheese, we have those macaroni noodles in there, which are great. But you also need a little bit of a crunch for different texture. It helps, doesn't it? It really does, and that is such a simple way of making a really nice breadcrumb crust, and there they are. Because normally you do this in the oven, right? You'd get your mac and cheese and then you'd put some breadcrumbs on and then you'd grill it in the oven. But you know what? We save time because this is a speedy recipe. So we toasted them in a pan, got them really, really hot, real quick, and browned them off, and that makes a mac and cheese in about 20-25 minutes. So you've got the robust bite of the pasta, you've got the nice creaminess of the cheese sauce, you've got the crunch of the breadcrumbs, and that pepperiness of the rocket. That together is a really well-rounded, if not simple meal. It's a good-looking thing. You know what I would put on that to finish? Go on. Some freshly ground black pepper. I might pop a little bit of tomato ketchup on. What? Yeah. Are you mad? Tomato ketchup. Next up is our 1-pan cookie. That's right, this is a cookie that we made in a giant frying pan.
I mean, it sounds pretty darn good, and it is.
Do you know this recipe I think might be one of our housemate Darren's favourite recipes? Is it, Darren? He didn't hear.
He didn't hear, but do you know what? He is definitely saying yes, 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 if he could hear that.
Exactly, like somewhere, somehow, he's saying yes, just in silence.
One of the best things about this recipe is the fact that it's so very simple. If you've got one of these stand mixers, you just whack everything in there, you whip it up into some really nice cookie dough, and then you pop it in the pan. But the thing is, I was thinking about this, because the way, you would never sit and eat the entire cookie, would you?
I mean, it depends.
Well,
if I'd just been dumped
that's true.
by a girlfriend and I was comfort eating,
then you would definitely...
It's possible.
There would definitely be a legitimate excuse to eat the entire cookie. But if you didn't...
In front of 500 days of summer, I might add.
And here we go. So this is the point here. Once you've baked it off, rather than eating it like a massive cookie, you can cut it like a pizza. So we could have called it cookie pizza.
Absolutely, yeah. It is a giant pizza cookie.
Yeah, pizza cookie. It's a pizza cookie, and do you know what? It's one of the tastiest things we've ever made, because pecans and chocolate and all that cookie stuff is just good.
And then we've got this drizzle made of tahini, which is, you know, a little bit out there. Not usually what you'd put on a cookie like this, but it works so well. You've got that lovely sesame seed flavour in there, sweetness from the maple syrup, and some dairy-free ice cream, which is going to melt and look beautiful.
I rate that presentation there as well, because that is presentation for sharing.
Absolutely.
So when we're allowed in, hopefully at the end of 2021, or quite, you know, at the beginning of 2021, hopefully we're allowed out and see our friends, we can make one of these and have a big communal eat-off.
Exactly. Now let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, guys. Do subscribe to Bosch if you haven't already. And next up in our list is going to be our gochujang flavoured cauliflower schnitzel.
Oh yes, now we again took this from our Speedy book, and in the Speedy book there is 3 different versions of this, and this I think is the best.
I mean, it's incredible. Yeah, you've got that kind of incredible Korean fiery flavour running throughout that sauce, and you've got the lovely bite of that cauliflower, and then we make it crisp on the outside. And actually we managed to get a really firm steak in this recipe by the magic ingredient of
cauliflower starch. Yes,
that's right.
Cauliflower starch is a really good ingredient, and we use it time and time again to make sure we get that really nice crunch around the vegetable that we're cooking. And here, look at how nice that looks. It looks like a brain.
Now look at this. So what we're doing here is we're using that cornstarch and we're packing it in the little gaps. So we're making a kind of firmer, more complete shape of cauliflower.
It's exactly right.
We've just upgraded the cauliflower.
I think we have.
We've made it better.
Yeah, and also, say if you didn't want to just do one steak, you could just like break it off into little florets and do exactly the same. So it'd be like mini GOCHUJANG schnitzels.
Sounds like another recipe.
Oh yeah.
Coming soon on Bosch. Well, for now, this bad boy is going to go into some oil. We didn't say this was a healthy recipe.
No, we didn't.
Although it is a cauliflower, let's be honest. But it's Speedy, another one from Speedy Bosh. This one got loads of love on our YouTube channel and Facebook channel as well.
And I think this is a really good meal to cook for someone who's coming round, who's not necessarily used to plant-based food, because it's actually quite surprising, because you've got the crunch and you've got the incredible look of it, because the cauliflower is such a beautiful thing when you cut it in half like we just did.
Absolutely, yeah, love it. And the most important thing, of course, is this sauce, which we're gonna hit it with. We've had some ginger and garlic, and oh my God, that gochujang paste, if you can find it, is such an incredible flavor. It's gonna do so much wonder to the outside of these cauliflower pieces.
It's got a nice amount of spice in it. It's got a nice amount of sort of Asian flavors in it, and it's got a nice amount of sweetness in it. This is a marvelous sauce.
Yeah, I mean, I love this one so much. I'm actually gutted
that we haven't got
we're not
right
eating
now.
it right now.
Yeah. Do you know, you could use that same sauce for like a piece of seitan chicken, or like have it like with seitan chicken poppers.
Totally, man. It could go with so many things.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we were writing the Speedy Bosh book and we had Luke and Fran here?
Yes.
And we were just having cauliflower after cauliflower after cauliflower.
We were eating them because we were testing it to make sure that that recipe just worked a treat, because we don't want you guys to sort of make something for it not to work. So we just tried again and made it perfect. And look at it, it looks brilliant.
So delicious, perfect crunch of that cauliflower, perfect sweet, smoky, sticky flavour of that gochujang sauce. Goes great with a bit of vegan kimchi as well, if you can find that. That is a wicked dish.
Yeah, I have to tip my hat to kimchi. I love kimchi. I used to think kimchi was horrible. I used to think it's like, who
Kind of is, but it's nice when you get used to it.
Yeah, I used to think, nah man, but now I think, yeah man, it's really, really tasty and it's really good for you, isn't it, for your gut?
So is.
And I tell you what's good for your mouth.
Dan Dan noodles.
Dan Dan noodles, that is right. This, a lot of people have commented on social media about this being the tastiest recipe in the whole book.
I mean, it's incredible, yeah. This recipe is absolutely bonkers. Dan Dan noodles are kind of like a traditional street food. In fact, in China, they would often have a guy who would have a giant stick over his shoulder and he'd be walking down the street basically with a bucket on the front and a bucket on the back of his stick.
Yeah.
And he'd be serving the noodles out one side and some sauce out the other side. And this is that kind of street food flavour made vegan.
Now, one of the things that I think some British restaurants don't do particularly well, or want food stuff that you can't find really good in the UK, is noodles. So this is a great recipe for making marvellous noodles in your own house.
Absolutely, and it tastes meaty, right? Because we've got that mince in there, we've got a plant-based mince, we've got those mushrooms as well, and we've got all of that flavour. Now, if you notice, there's a nice hack here. So we're going to keep half of our sauce aside, and we're going to mix the rest through the noodles, and that half that we took away is going to be put on top. This noodle dish, honestly, if you have one noodle dish in your repertoire, I would say this should be it.
Yeah, I think so too. Look at it. I mean, why wouldn't you want to eat that? It's got that nice sort of meaty bite to it. It's got those fantastic cheap, very, very cheap ramen noodles that are super quick to make, and those fantastically fresh spring onions. Oh, yes.
And again, this is from the Speedy Bosh cookbook, so it's really quick to get on the table. Definitely, you want this in your repertoire.
Yeah, and you can use a fork, or you could use those wonderful chopsticks that are just there on the left-hand side. I think this goes very well with a beer.
Oh, well, I've got one right here.
Yeah, I think a nice cold lager goes perfectly with that. But the next recipe does not go well with nice cold lager. It goes well with cups of teas. Yes.
That's right, this is a classic Victoria sponge.
Yes, now this video here that we're looking at was part of the series of videos that we did for our TV show earlier on in 2020, Living on the Veg.
Oh man, that was a moment, wasn't it?
It was.
The UK's first mainstream TV cooking show. It was on every Saturday and Sunday. Did you know? It's actually going to be re-shown in 2021.
Is it actually?
I haven't told you that, have I?
No.
Nat told me.
When?
She told me on the phone on Friday, but it's going to be...
in the UK?
Yeah, it's going to be shown in the UK, which is really cool.
That's so cool!
Starting late December, yeah.
I had no idea!
But it's going to be shown at like 3 in the morning.
Oh. Well, no, to be fair, but you can still get it on catch-up.
Yeah, it's going to be on iPlayer, it's going to be on all of that stuff. So, guys, if you didn't catch Living on the Veg, or if you just want to get into it again, check out the BBC iPlayer in the UK, which is going to be starting kind of towards the end of December, early January.
Oh my goodness, an ITV player.
Did I say iPlayer?
BBC iPlayer.
Then it was like ITV player, yeah.
Yeah, but either way, it's wonderful for the vegan movement to have a full vegan TV show just on mainstream TV, even if it is at 3 o'clock in the morning.
And you can see us cook this wonderful dish. This is our Victoria sponge. Honestly, this dish works so well. It's got such a kind of lovely flaky crumb. It's got perfect texture. It's really sweet. There's a lot of vanilla has gone in, right? We've gone really heavy on the vanilla, and honestly, you're gonna love this cake.
Yeah, and that icing, it's very easy to get vegan icing very wrong, but just look at how robust that is and the way that it's spreading.
Solid.
It's thick and it's hard, and when you cut into that Victoria sponge, it's just going to be perfect. Raspberry jam all day long for this, I think.
Yeah.
I think strawberry jam doesn't even factor into the conversation.
And a key tip about the icing is we've used that vegetable shortening, so it's not dairy-free butter. It is shortening. It's going to have a kind of firmer, more fatty consistency. It's basically the vegan equivalent of lard, but obviously no animals were required, and that gives you the perfect ice.
This is a great cake.
I mean, that's beautiful, isn't it? The tap tap of the snow.
Yeah, this is a great cake. We were going deep on the raspberries there as well. That's the thing of beauty. I don't care who you are, where you are. If you don't have a sweet tooth, you can't look at that and say that's not a pretty thing.
I mean, that icing sugar just kind of makes it into like a beautiful snowscape.
It's great. It's great. It is great. I wish we had one of these slices of cake here right now. I would have that happily with a nice cup of tea.
But that was one of our top recipes of 2020 from the Bish Bash Bosh cookbook, also from the Living on the Veg series. Really, really cool. Next up is one of the first recipes we ever made when we were as Bosh. When we were as Bosh? That doesn't make sense. One of the first recipes we ever made as Bosh, it's the mezze cake.
Oh my goodness, it is, it's a thing of like folklore now.
Yeah.
Vegan folklore.
We were basically thinking of how could we do like a falafel lasagna. That was the idea with this, was to get all of the ingredients of like, you know, falafel, maybe a kebab, maybe a kind of mezze spread, but turn them into a lasagna. The lasagna thing didn't really work, but then we realized we could probably fashion a cake of some sort, and we did. Yeah,
and if you want a nice recipe for falafel, there's one right there.
Yeah. It's
a good thing. But yeah, like Henry says, it worked so well in a cake tin, but it was never going to work in a lasagna tin.
Absolutely. So instead, we made it into a cake, and what you do here, right? It's kind of mad, but first of all, you start off with some flatbread in the bottom of a cake tin. Then you put some hummus on there, right? And you spread that around, and that's a good start. Get some dollops of hot sauce on there. You could maybe dollop some other colors, and then we're gonna start griddling and layering down various different veg. So we've got our griddled courgette, we've got our aubergine, we've got some sun-dried tomato as well, which came from a jar, we've got olive tapenade, and most importantly, we've got rice, which we're gonna pack down really hard, and you must do this step if you want your cake to stay together. Pack it down really hard, and that is gonna be one layer.
Yeah, and notice how we're pushing everything right to the sides, because the idea is it wants to look beautiful on the outside, and you have to have every element of the cake right up against the cake tin so we can see it all on the outside. You know this is a great thing.
Yeah.
And you know, we've gone from one cake to another. If you don't have a sweet tooth and you much prefer savoury, this is a great thing to make for somebody's birthday.
Totally. And once you've got that layer, we're gonna keep layering even more layers. We've got some peppers to go on there. We just added baba ganoush, and to top it all off, we will spread down that falafel mixture with a spoon, and that is essentially the topping, which we're gonna bake in the oven.
Oh, that's a good shot.
That's a beautiful spread.
It's a nice spready shot. But yeah, you bake it in the oven because obviously the falafel needs to cook, and what we're gonna be left here with is a nice firm top, which we can ice.
With hummus.
Yes.
Is that a thing?
Yeah,
we made it a thing.
We made it a thing, and why it wasn't a thing before, I don't know.
Hummus icing. In fact, we went to Dubai and hung out with like a top chef there and did a supper club, and he actually put this out for people.
And he knocked his socks off.
Yeah, he loved this dish. He made his own version of it for our supper club in Dubai. That's how good it was.
Oh, it does look great, doesn't it? And
really
like I say, real party piece. Went viral the first time round, went viral the second time round. It features in our first cookbook, Bosh, which is incidentally now the biggest selling vegan cookbook of all time. So if you haven't got a copy of that, I think it's like £7 on Amazon.
Yeah. Oh my God, but that is an amazing thing. In fact, a few members of our team said this is the tastiest thing they've ever eaten, ever.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, like all those flavors just work beautifully well together, but presented in that way, you just wouldn't see it. Like, you wouldn't ever be able to buy one of those.
No.
You have to make it.
Speaking of things you can't buy, the next thing can't be bought either. It's a vegan cheese toastie. This is the kind of thing you have to make at home because, frankly, it's so easy, you might as well.
Yeah, you really might as well. This is a really good recipe because we go for the traditional way of making like grilled cheese in America. And the traditional way is like when you sort of fry it on one side and fry it on the other.
Totally, yeah. I feel like in this country we either use one of those kind of weird griddle things, maybe a panini maker or a George Foreman.
Yeah.
But over there in America, it's all about getting the grilled cheese on that pan with some dairy-free butter. But also in this one, the other thing I like about this recipe is we're actually making our own cheese.
Yeah, that's it. And we're making it super quick, and we're making it with a lot of store cupboard ingredients, and we're making it, it's kind of healthy, right?
Yeah. Totally. We've got carrots have gone in there. We've got some aquafaba. Of course, we're going to use nooch as well. Now, the key thing here, right? The key thing if you're going to do this is to get a really good tasting cheese. So make sure you taste it as you go. And if you like the flavor of a particular brand of vegan cheese,
you could add that in as well. Or maybe just go for that cheese, but we like to make our own. Yeah, it's always good to sort of freestyle, like just to, like think on your feet as you're cooking, unless of course you're cooking something like a cake which needs precise measurements. Exactly, yeah, baking is an art, but cooking like this, no, baking is a science, but cooking like this is an art. We definitely recommend you freestyle with this one. And this is the bit that we were talking about before, about actually the American way of doing a grilled cheese. So you butter one side and you put your sandwich down, buttered side down, and fry it until it's nice and golden. Yeah, and you kind of build it in the pan. Yeah. Now I like to use some kind of a pickle in there as well, whether it's like a traditional British pickle or even an Indian aubergine or brinjal pickle works really great too. Now it's kind of dribbling out the sides there, but don't worry, because those bits, when they fry in the pan and you get that nice kind of brown crust, that's some of the best bit. The gnarly bits. Yeah, the gnarly bit. It is a gnarly bit. The Maillard reaction. It tastes wonderful, really, really tasty, and I mean, that is a beautiful thing. Yeah, I mean, what would you have that with? You have a plate of pommes frites. You could dip that into more chutney, couldn't you, as well? Maybe a touch of salad. I think a little ketchup here would go. Oh, what is it with you and the ketchup, bro? Today, yeah, I know. Like, leave it! Ketchup. But would you go salad or chips with that? I think I'd go salad. Chips is a bit much. Yeah, chips is a bit much, isn't it? Yeah, I think like a really basic sort of iceberg lettuce-based salad with some cherry tomatoes would look really nice. But wicked recipe. We hope you agree. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. How do you like your grilled cheese? And next up, we're going to get into our 30-minute lasagna. Oh my goodness, now this is a real cracker. Like when we release a book, there is loads of press that comes along with it. And one of the recipes that featured most heavily in the press was this one. You can see why. Yeah, I mean, it's a lasagna in 30 minutes. Yeah. Normally a lasagna is a labor of love, right? It will take you 2 hours, maybe even 3 hours, for including some of the lasagnas we've made in the Bosch cookbook. Wicked recipes. But sometimes you want to have that flavor without spending 2 to 3 hours. And that's when this recipe has got your back. Now, obviously, with any lasagna, it has a few different elements. It's got the lasagna sheets, it's got the tomato sauce or the ragu, and it's also got the bechamel stroke cheese sauce. That's what we made to begin with. That is a really good recipe for a cheese sauce, and this is a fantastic way to make a really flavorful tomato sauce. I mean, we've basically put the thing together in seconds, you could say. You've got to have your ingredients out, right? This recipe should take you under 30 minutes. Get your ingredients on the table, don't even have to prep them. From having your ingredients out, you should be looking for 30 minutes start to finish. And there we go, we've got that vegan beef, right? Because vegan beef is so much better now than it used to be. Yeah. And those grilled artichokes just give an unexpected but very welcome, like mild crunch. And a kind of fresh, tangy bite. Yeah, and they've got that nice oiliness as well. It's really, really good. Yeah. And this is like some of the genius of this recipe, isn't it? Absolutely, this is the hack, right? So actually, rather than layering a lasagna as you traditionally do, we just broke those lasagna sheets into bits, parboiled them, and now we fold them through. So in some ways it's more like a pasta bake rather than a lasagna, which is traditionally layered, but it works fine and you cannot tell the difference. And there is that cheese sauce that we commented on earlier. And look, the redness of the tomato sauce is blending with the cream of the cheese sauce to make a really nice summery orange color. I like it. Nicely described there. And of course you're going to top it off with a bit more vegan cheese, and then 5 minutes in the grill. And that's it. And it's done, because it was already cooked. Yeah, those basil leaves are really important for just a little bit of natural flavour, natural pop, and obviously the colour and aromatic sort of nature of them. Amazing. Love the freshness of basil. Love the simplicity of this dish with the incredible rich ragu, the perfectly delicious quick bechamel, and of course that lovely little tang of that parmesan on top. A little bit more rocket on there as well. We like a handful of rocket because it just sort of just complements a lot of flavours, and this is something that's complemented really well with basil. I mean, this dish is incredible. Yeah, it's a great dish. You put your name on it. So good I put my name on it. It's actually called Henry's 30-minute lasagna in the book, not to be confused with Ian's tempeh toastie. Yes. Also in the book. So you know when we put our name on it, that's a good recipe. So there we have it. That was 10 recipes, most of which from Speedy Bosh, all of which from 2020. And here in this video, which is our annual roundup. Absolutely. They were our best vegan recipes of the year, a year that has been mad, unprecedented, and quite a handful for a lot of people, including ourselves. So we needed some good food to get us through. We hope those recipes will see you through 2021. Now there was 10 recipes there. Which one was your favourite? Let us know in the comment section below.
And if you haven't subscribed, this is your first time seeing us, then please do hit that subscribe button. We make plant-based videos like this basically every day.
So it's going to be 2021, and in between 2020 and 2021, you have you have New Year's Eve,
right?
And you do wow, all the Happy New Year,
Happy
everybody!
New Year!
Take care.
Peace. I don't know where you're going with that.
Yeah, I was like, where am I going with this?